Look how beautiful. A pine wood, a mixed woodland. Life is much like such a woodland. We stand close together, yet remain strangely far apart. Each tree is like one of Earth's nerves. Humans are believed to be Earth's nerves, largely because we are nervous more often than not. Yet those who come to understand the true nature of being human begin to embody that nature, and life tends to unfold more favorably for them. We often notice how swiftly time slips away, just as our own lives seem to race past. As the years accumulate, people are meant to grow wiser, though this is not always what happens. Wisdom is the fruit of spiritual progress. It is commonly believed that age brings experience and with it wisdom. Respect for our elders is an essential part of our humanity. Throughout their lives, they have gathered countless experiences. They are expected to understand life's guiding principles and to pass this understanding on to the younger generation. Yet we frequently meet older people who seem to have lost this awareness. There are many reasons for this. A hard life, unrelenting stress, an absence of sound understanding of life, a lack of any genuine philosophy of life, and sometimes simply drifting through existence without reflection. By midlife, and certainly by the time one reaches mature years, a person is expected to have developed depth, gained insight, wisdom, and accumulated experiences worth sharing with those who follow. I have an article entitled, "If Age Could, If Youth Knew." Or perhaps, "If Youth Knew, If Age Could." When young people are swept up by their emotions and passions, they often end up wasting time. In seeking experience, they frequently lose themselves within it, forming attachments that are hard to break. As they approach maturity and the time comes to harvest the fruits of the experiences gained in this lifetime, they begin to recognize the things that should never have been done. We often insist that we can or must achieve something in life. Yet to do so, we need knowledge. We must understand how to accomplish it, and we must have a clear purpose. Many young people feel little real drive towards a particular goal, for their curiosity draws them instead to explore the world and gather experiences. Those who have reached maturity, observing both their own lives and the lives of the younger generation, come to understand what truly matters, guided by the lessons their years have given them. By the time we reach maturity, our minds respond to life quite differently from how they did in youth. These changes allow us to evaluate our past actions and to consider more wisely how we behave in the present and how we should act in the future. People often feel that, although they have lived many years, they have not truly lived at all. We recognize that time has slipped by, yet we struggle to savor the true flavor of life. Life seems to reside only in the past. In the present moment, we remain largely unaware. We know in theory how many years we have spent on this earth, yet we have not experienced them in any meaningful way. This is rather striking. On the one hand, time appears to favor us, while on the other, it seems to work against us. It is natural to wonder what can be done about the years that have passed yet feel empty. How, for instance, should older people come to terms with this? And what should young people do when they cannot grasp life's meaning? They are swept along by passions, emotions, and the thrill of new experiences. But in the process, they squander both energy and time, overlooking the essential developments that could, now or later, truly support them. At present, they either do not know about these things or simply choose not to. This is quite a complicated issue nowadays. As the saying goes, if youth only knew, if age only could. We understand how important it is to support the young in their learning and self-development. This is why I often emphasize the value of self-realization practices that help us discover what genuinely matters in life, and along the way to remain cheerful and joyful, to relax, to create, to engage with others, all while steadily pursuing personal growth. Such practices greatly expand our consciousness. As our consciousness expands, so too does our understanding of life and the laws that govern it. I wish as many people as possible could experience this. Unfortunately, life does not grant this gift to everyone. Perhaps not everyone needs it. People may have their own lessons to learn. We often hear that each person must gain personal experience and live according to what feels right to them, that we should not interfere in the lives of others. Indeed, we must not impose our views. But how can we be certain that what feels right to someone now was not imposed upon them earlier? Suffering, for instance, is an imposed state. People end up living in environments that cause suffering. Whether created by their own actions or by the actions of others is a separate matter entirely, but that environment becomes their reality. I have often met people in their 60s, 70s, or even 80s who wish to prolong their lives. They want more time because they've realized that the path they followed was not entirely right. They sense that something truly important remains to be attained, yet the years have slipped by, and they may no longer reach those goals. So they begin to wonder what to do, and whether there is a way to extend their lives, so they may still experience a conscious and joyful existence. I have heard that in some countries, China for example, many people feel they begin to truly live only after retirement. After decades of labor, they finally gain the freedom to travel the world. They can afford it, and they travel gladly. We sometimes meet such travelers, visiting distant countries, taking photographs, exploring the sights of our vast planet, and enjoying life in their own way. Yet even this does not bring true joy and happiness. People continue to feel fear, uncertainty, and anxiety. These stem from a deep sense of dissatisfaction, from the feeling that one's life, whether past or present, does not bear the fruit that the soul and consciousness seek. And so we are unable to enjoy life fully. I am speaking here of those who merely drift through existence. There are others, those who create, who find joy in artistic expression and shared creativity. They feel that they are doing something to nourish their soul. Yet even creative people often lack the confidence or feeling that they have lived their lives rightly. Why do I mention this? Because like the saplings in this wood, I see young people emerging as fresh shoots filled with growing strength. With time, these saplings become mighty trunks reaching for the light, stretching towards the sun. Around them stand older trees that slowly wither, lose their leaves, and eventually fall. The same is true of human life. Some leave this world, others enter it. This is the law of life, the law of nature. And there are those who recognize these laws and strive to balance the scales. Yoga offers such opportunities. For instance, the possibility of prolonging life, but for what purpose? Why should we strive to live longer? What is the point of existence without a goal? Even without an apparent goal, we still gain experience. We cannot claim that life is meaningless. Every experience shapes the soul. Every experience shapes the soul. But when we consciously participate in this process, we begin to feel that what we do for ourselves truly belongs to us. And this experience becomes a precious aspect of our being in this incarnation. We carry it with us into the next. And next time, when someone is born in a certain form or image or place, just now I felt a moment of déjà vu, as if I have already been here before. Perhaps such impressions come from a parallel universe. As for what we truly need, I believe that through committed self-exploration, we can and indeed must take charge of the life forces, the life currents that make our existence full, vivid, creative, long, and happy. To do this, we must take control of three fundamental aspects: our thinking, our diet, and our breathing. And to some extent, our sleep as well. Other aspects of our existence play their part, of course. But these three, our thoughts, our diet, and our breathing, require our closest attention. I can say with confidence that today we possess the means to strengthen our bodies and extend our lives. On average, a person takes around 21,600 breaths in a 24-hour period. This number of breaths is said to maintain our connection with the highest. The connection is straightforward. Every breath consists of so and hum. In yoga, we often speak of the link between the highest and the manifested. So represents the highest, while hum signifies the manifested. During each inhalation and exhalation, the sound of the breath naturally echoes So-Hum mantra. Most people take 25 or more breaths per minute. As I have mentioned before, at such a rapid pace, our lifespan is unlikely to be long. Every breath, in effect, shortens our time on earth. Yoga offers methods, practices known collectively as pranayama, that help us reduce the number of breaths we take. By doing so, we can extend our lifespan. Very few people are aware of this. Even fewer realize that oxygen, widely believed to sustain life, can paradoxically shorten it and accelerate aging. Everyone seeks fresh air, and indeed we do need fresh air. From it we must draw fresh prana, the special life energy that nourishes the body. Yet oxygen itself, though universally praised, oxidizes the body. Strange as it may seem, oxidation hastens aging, contributes to disease, and brings us closer to death. You see? This is why those who engage in endurance sports that require intense breathing and ever-increasing oxygen consumption often age more rapidly. Except for those who possess naturally greater reserves or who gradually shift to a different path. It is carbon that truly sustains life. And when we learn to hold the breath in a scientifically informed way, correctly, without resorting to extreme practices, and with the necessary knowledge and understanding, our body becomes stronger, healthier, and capable of living for many more years. It's important to understand what yoga offers us as a science. It grants health, heightened awareness, and the opportunity to unlock the mind's latent abilities. All of this becomes possible through proper breathing. Yoga includes pranayama practices that accelerate our evolution. We often refer to this in the context of Kriya, which is considered a super technique. This super technique uses methods of breathing and concentration that allows us to reach a very high level of evolution, swiftly and with remarkable ease. Pranayama then unfolds naturally. When we hold the breath, toxins and waste products are expelled from the body at a much faster rate. Then the body is purified, and the blood is purified as well. All of this becomes possible through the power of pranayama. This cleansing supports the body in returning to a state it has long lost. We have burdened ourselves with toxins and impurities, physical as well as mental, and now we must remove them. Yoga, meditation, and pranayama achieve precisely that, opening new possibilities within us. Through them, we begin to perceive the true essence of our being. Let's walk over there. When young people engage in these practices, they evolve quickly. And as they move through life, they begin to uncover aspects of existence that were previously hidden from them. They may discover new talents, develop determination, or find themselves drawn to pursuits that genuinely engage the mind. They may feel inspired to serve others, or gravitate towards nature rather than remain glued to their phones, lost in a virtual world while forgetting the real one. Their perception of life undergoes a transformation. Now let us look at how this unfolds for older people. We know practitioners in their 90s who have extended their lives, released long-standing ailments, and begun to live with greater ease and awareness through practice. It is a mistake to assume that people of such age are destined for perpetual drowsiness, unable to hear or understand others, as though the brain inevitably collapses at an advanced age. No. Their awareness continues to develop and expand. With every practice, their energy multiplies and their strength grows. The brain itself becomes more resilient. Therefore, I encourage everyone, without pressuring anyone, who wishes to take charge of their life and stop stumbling through existence like blind kittens. Everyone who wants to live life in its truest sense, to take action. I recommend the practice of Kriya, a science that accelerates human evolution and elevates practitioners to higher levels of being in an impressively short time. Children are able to practice when they see their parents practicing. When a father or mother, especially the mother, engages in practice, the child, even before birth, senses this and joins in unconsciously. After birth, the child continues to observe the mother practicing. Children absorb everything their mother does, including her movements, because there is a direct connection between them. However, conscious practice becomes possible only from about the age of 6. At that age, children can begin to practice certain techniques. In fact, we have seen parents practicing together with their very young children of 18 months or 2 years old, who imitated energization exercises. But more serious practices, such as pranayama, are generally recommended only from the age of 12, and sometimes from 7, depending on the child's level of consciousness. I once met a 6-year-old who was more conscious than young adults of 20 or 25. It depends entirely on the level of consciousness of the incarnating soul. Still, children as young as 5 can learn belly breathing and engage the diaphragm correctly. From birth, they are meant to breathe naturally and properly. But if they are given an unsuitable diet or information, or if they live in an overly comfortable environment, this natural mechanism can begin to break down. Ailments may then arise. Chest or clavicular breathing becomes habitual, and this is a doorway to illness. In such cases, prana never meets apana. The positive and negative energies do not converge, and imbalance follows. This, of course, is a simplified explanation. Here, parents play a decisive role. Their task is to create an environment that allows their children to develop naturally. Children who spend ample time in nature reconnect with it and gain the chance to restore lost balance. Today, however, many people spend most of their lives in comfortable flats or houses, surrounded by Wi-Fi radiation and similar influences, an environment that actually hinders natural living. This is why I recommend spending more time in nature. Sometimes it's enough simply to take off your shoes and walk barefoot on the earth to become grounded. This helps restore balance, align with your potential, and nourish both your body and your inner resources. Why do so many teenagers become defiant towards their parents at some stage, struggling to communicate smoothly with them? Largely, it's due to differences in their potential and vibrational frequencies. Teenage hormones also play a considerable role. A young person's mental world is still forming, unstable, and not yet able to function with full clarity. The period from roughly 3 to 5 years old until about 16 or 17 should be steeped in sound philosophy and healthy attitudes. This is a crucial aspect of parenting. If children are not raised well, if they do not learn to respect their parents, today's value system is in many ways distorted. Many parents even feel pressured into avoiding the upbringing they believe is right. I'm not talking about punishment, but about a thoughtful style of parenting. Such an approach may occasionally involve corrective measures, not physical punishment, but rather the imposition of reasonable ethical or psychological boundaries. For example, a child might lose access to something they habitually rely on, such as their mobile phone. Parents may decide to restrict phone use when necessary. Labor, however, should never be used as a form of punishment. Doing so can breed resentment towards work. Later in life, any task may then be perceived as a punishment. A strong work ethic needs to be cultivated. What I want to emphasize is that a family needs a guiding philosophy. If a home lacks philosophy or coherent values, it is unrealistic to expect children to treat their parents with genuine respect. Absolutely. Because they lack the right foundation. When a child grows up attuned to life's rhythm, cherishing the family's values, and seeing their parents live by those values and discuss them openly, it becomes far easier to communicate even when they reach 16. There are many examples of 15, 16, and 17-year-olds who lead righteous lives. And there are many counterexamples, young people who run away from home, fall into harmful situations, or face other troubling experiences. These outcomes depend greatly on the parents. The children are not at fault. Often adults possess a level of consciousness no more mature than their children's. The only real difference is the number of years they have lived. Such parents may argue with their children, or even compete with them, demanding obedience, but this is futile. The first step is for parents to work on themselves. As I have said in previous videos, parents should focus on educating themselves rather than solely trying to educate their children. Self-education becomes a powerful example for the young to follow. A happy old age is in truth a rather vague concept. Old age itself does not bring happiness. Let me explain what I mean. In later years, the body becomes frail. In such a condition, a person cannot easily experience happiness. Real happiness becomes possible only when one ceases to identify with the body and begins to perceive oneself as a spirit of consciousness rather than a purely material being. Then the fear of death dissolves. Our elders, saintly elders whose lives fill many volumes, offer shining examples. They were true warriors of the spirit, tirelessly refining themselves throughout their lives. Perhaps their form of old age can indeed be called happy. Yet I would hesitate to call them old. Their bodies may have aged, but inwardly they remained eternally young, dwelling in eternity. Perhaps this is what we might rightly call joy or happiness. For most people, however, old age signifies hardship and burden. It brings pain born of attachments. It brings suffering at many levels: mental, emotional, and physical. This is why I do not believe that old age by itself can bring happiness, unless a person has realized their true nature and risen to a higher understanding. Without such realization, genuine happiness is unattainable. Yet if right now, while we are still relatively young, we begin to invest in our later years, even simply by slowing the aging process through consistent practice, we can at least say with confidence that we have done something meaningful in pursuit of true happiness. And last but not least, age is no barrier to achieving one's goals. At any stage of life, people can, and I believe should, undertake this work, for they are perfectly capable of reaching the highest levels. There is a striking example. A prominent Western figure, whose name I shall omit, arrived at a Tibetan monastery in a state of utter ruin, already past 70, and burdened with numerous ailments. He began his practice at around 70, and by the age of 80 he had become a master. During the decade he spent in the monastery, he followed specialized practices for body energization under the monk's guidance. By 80, he had reached an advanced level physically, energetically, mentally, and spiritually, and regained robust health. In other words, he allowed himself to merge with an environment that ultimately reshaped him. In this regard, older people are often more steadfast than the young. The young frequently abandon their efforts, distracted by a host of diversions, attachments, and interests. A person seasoned by life, however, has come to see the futility of constant restlessness and is ready to devote themselves fully to the practice. Our lives move at a relentless pace. From the global perspective of the universe, an entire lifetime flashes by in just a few days. What can one accomplish in those 3 fleeting days? Very little. Yet with steady, dedicated practice, those days can become full and meaningful. It is entirely possible to reach extraordinary heights in just a handful of years, years that can hold the significance of an entire lifetime. And this remarkable opportunity is there for everyone. Consider these trees. Their roots sink deep into the soil, while their trunks and branches stretch upward towards the sun. A human being, however, can be pictured as an inverted tree. In Kriya, we use this very symbol. An upside-down Vedic tree whose roots grow into the heavens, the spiritual realm, while its branches reach downwards into the soil, into the world of everyday life. Trees grow by adding new layers of wood, forming the rings we see when a trunk is cut. By counting those rings, we can estimate the tree's age. With a human being, no such measurement exists. Regardless of physical age, a person's stage of evolution is revealed not by their years, but by the clarity of their consciousness and perception. A few well-chosen questions are often enough. It is a simple and powerful way to understand what someone truly needs for rapid inner growth. This is how it usually unfolds through practice, which is why I urge people to stop squandering their time and turn inward, venturing beyond the limits of the mind to explore a far greater world. Look at this stump. Once it was a tree. The roots remain, but the trunk has long since vanished. Yet a genuine master can bring such a dried stump back to life with a single glance. How? By calling the tree forth, by calling life forth. They share their own energy with the stump, and it responds. New shoots appear, leaves unfurl. Long ago when I practiced Taoism, this served as a kind of test. Could one do it? A prospective master would be asked to approach a long-dead tree and make it blossom. This signified the sharing of life force and the ability to control energies. And it is indeed possible. The next stage involved reviving a bird. A master would hold a dead bird in his hands, directing his energy into it, and as life returned, the bird would fly away. Sounds like a fairy tale. For those unaccustomed to such things, it is like a fairy tale. But to me, fairy tales are simply stories about what once truly happened and what still is.